Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus this morning will shed light on mass incarceration and other issues that consistently change the course of many people's lives in our country and right here in our community. The U.S. has the largest incarcerated population in the world, and believe it or not, the state of Wisconsin has the highest number of African American men behind bars than any state in the U.S. My first guests are representatives from an organization at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee that's purpose is to educate the urban community and urban youth, among many other things. And here to tell us more about Community Uprise is the organization's founder, Jafar Banda, and co-chair, Alan Schultz. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thank you both for being here. And as I mentioned, Jafar, you are the founder of Community Uprise. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, I wanted to start an organization on campus that was advocacy for ex-felons. Considering that I'm an ex-felon, I've been subjected to discrimination. You know, every day I wake up knowing that, you know, I'm going to be discriminated against. So I just want to fight to increase the opportunity and chances of ex-felons from my community on being able to be successful.
Okay, and so Alan, you too have a background of where you were part of the prison system, and I think you both are excellent examples here today because you both made a conscious decision to make a difference in your lives and not let your past define your future. So you both are actually enrolled at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and you are part of this organization that has a long list of goals to help individuals who have not only been in your predicament, but who are currently in your predicament, and you're trying to make changes to make things better for them. So fighting for less stringent laws pertaining to expungement of criminal records for nonviolent former incarcerated individuals is one of your goals, to demand more community input and oversight on all levels of government, and to fight for fair student loan repayment, forgiveness, and interest rates, which is something that all students can relate to. So Alan, talk about what Community Uprise means to you and why it's important for you to be a part of this.
It's important to me because it'll lessen a lot of the, I'd say, racial tensions, basically. We have this disproportionate system. As a juvenile, I was literally in front of a judge 28 times before being revoked. If I was an African American male in my adolescence, there's no way I would have been 28 times in front of the same judge without having been revoked probably the third time or the fifth time.
So you're shedding a whole different kind of light on the situation when it comes to who, in fact, gets that time behind bars.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So when we look at this student organization, I think that it's important to really realize that you guys are fighters. Just from talking to you before we started airing the show, I know that you guys have a lot of things that you want to accomplish. So what is your major, Alan, and your ultimate goal?
My current major is social work, but I'm planning on switching to community engagement and education. And my current goal is really to become a community organizer.
Yeah, and you, Jafar?
Actually, my goal is actually to be a community organizer as well. That's like my dream job. My major is community engagement. I'm actually a senior at UW-Milwaukee. And, you know, I just want to be able to successfully introduce and pass some expungement bills that uplift the classification for nonviolent offenders for Wisconsin.
Needless to say, there's a lot going on, not only in the city of Milwaukee, but across the country and the globe. What are some of the most pressing issues that concern you guys when you turn on the news?
Police accountability, prison reform, criminal justice reform overall.
And you, Alan?
I would say even recently, UWM, we just had Donald Trump on our campus, and the police officers that were there for the protesters were actually covering their badge numbers, covering their name tags. So definitely police accountability is huge right now.
And your organization, Community Uprise, was pretty much concerned about why their names and badge numbers were covered, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that you do. You go a little deeper than the surface and say, okay, I see that this has taken place. Now we're going to do something about it and ask questions and make the right people have to have an answer, right?
Correct.
All right. So Lois Quinn, who worked with the Employment and Training Institute at UW-Milwaukee, she joined us on this show a couple of years ago, and her research from 2013 focused on Wisconsin's mass incarceration of African American males, and it was entitled Workforce Challenges. Do you, in fact, utilize resources like Lois on the campus to further help you with what it is you're trying to do?
Absolutely. When I started this organization, I read that research over and over again until I kind of like memorized it, and that's kind of like how I wrote the foundation for Community Uprise. Lois Quinn actually helped prepare me for several speeches addressing mass incarceration in the community.
Okay, and statistics also show us that Wisconsin leads the nation in incarceration of Native American men, with 7.6% of working age men, that's 1 in 13, in state prisons and local jails, and this was compiled 6 years ago compared to 3.1 nationally. So I think that it's important to talk about the political climate that's going on as we speak. We know this is an election year, and President Barack Obama actually commuted the sentences of 46 nonviolent drug offenders. Talk about what that type of legislation means and what you would like to see happen in the future.
President Barack Obama, he's going to go down in history as one of the greatest presidents, and he is the black face of the community that's, you know, making moves on the presidency seat. And it's just like, I like to see him just do a little bit more. He's done a lot of work as far as addressing mass incarceration. It's for like second chances for offenders, you know, that are being released in the community. But he's kind of like has lacked his power to exercise to pardon felons for citizenship restoration.
Okay, and so the president did give a speech talking about his thoughts on the importance of giving individuals a second chance, and we've got a part of that speech, so let's take a look and see what he had to say.
Over the last few years, a lot of people have become aware of the inequities in the criminal justice system. The fact that we spend over $80 billion a year in incarcerating people, oftentimes who've only been engaged in nonviolent drug offenses. Right now, with our overall crime rate and incarceration rate both falling, we're at a moment when some good people in both parties, Republicans and Democrats, and folks all across the country are coming together around ideas to make the system work smarter, make it work better. And I'm determined to do my part wherever I can. That's one of the reasons why I'm commuting the sentences of 46 prisoners who were convicted many years, or in some cases, decades ago. These men and women were not hardened criminals, but the overwhelming majority had been sentenced to at least 20 years. 14 of them had been sentenced to life for nonviolent drug offenses. So their punishments didn't fit the crime. And if they'd been sentenced under today's laws, nearly all of them would have already served their time. I've made clear to them that re-entering society is going to require responsibility on their part, and hard work, and smarter choices. But I believe that at its heart, America is a nation of second chances. And I believe these folks deserve their second chance. I also believe there's a lot more we can do to restore the sense of fairness at the heart of our justice system, and to make sure our tax dollars are well spent, even as we are keeping our streets safe. That's something I'm going to discuss tomorrow in Philadelphia, where I'm going to lay out some ideas for criminal justice reform, many of which are already getting bipartisan support. Together, we can make our communities safer. We can spend our taxpayer dollars more wisely, and we can make sure that more of our citizens, even those who've made mistakes, have a chance to become productive members of society and contribute to this country that we love.
So, your thoughts when you see that?
I felt that like he needs to play both sides of the fence. He's actually is very excellent at fighting for incentives for housing development for ex-offenders that's getting out of the federal penitentiary. And it's just like a lot of these people, they would never had a right to vote unless Obama granted them a pardon. So as many Americans that's dependent on pardons, and Obama is kind of like ignoring them when he's not granted many. Actually, he's granted the least amount of pardons out of any president in history.
Okay, and so Alan, I want to get your perspective because you guys really do represent the younger generation who is really engaged in a lot of the different things that are being talked about when it comes to the presidential candidates right now, the candidates who are vying to be president. So talk about some of the things that you feel are important for these candidates to focus on and just whatever thoughts you have with politics right now.
I honestly think that presidential candidate Bernie Sanders is on point with his remarks about rescheduling marijuana and dropping it from the list, because if President Obama would actually tackle that right now, or would have did it when he had Eric Holder or Loretta Lynch as the Attorney General in, it would have lessened a lot more of the police presence in predominantly African American communities. It would have lessened the mass incarceration subsequently from less harassment on marijuana issues. And he also has a really staunch record for wanting community policing efforts, or the people in the community actually know the officers that are policing there, where we have a disparity with that, where a lot of them get moved off within like a month, or they move to a whole nother area and they're not as well connected with the community.
Okay, what about you, Jafar?
I think that Bernie Sanders would be an excellent president. It just really impresses me how he called Obama out to ban the box. That shows that he's concerned and he's fighting for equality for ex-offenders. And it wouldn't surprise me if he becomes the only presidential candidate to address the issue with citizenship restoration and the need for more pardons.
Okay, and so when you talk about banning the box, for those people who don't know exactly what that is, so when you go to fill out an application for a job or something along those lines, there's that box that says, have you ever been convicted of a felony, and you check yes or no. So you guys are for taking that off of an application that would ultimately, sometimes employers do automatically say, we're not going to go in that direction. Have you had that happen to you?
Yes, which is why I was a part of the Ban the Box initiative, where I fought and pressured my legislative to call Obama out to ban the box. So I called out my elected officials from a county level to a state level and a national level to call Obama out to make executive order to ban the box. And now I'm going to have a similar strategy for the increase of pardons.
Okay, and so when you talk about checking that particular box, have you found that to be in the way of anything that you've tried to do?
Yeah, I've definitely found that to add to discrimination from getting employment. At the same time, that's not the end-all be-all. There's also, regardless of that, you can still do CCAP here in this state, which would be you look up somebody's name online on public records.
And everything you've
and
done
everything's
is
there.
Yeah.
Regardless of the ban the box, that's still public record on, even if it's an arrest and it's dismissed, it's still there, and you can still get discriminated against on that.
Okay.
And that issue is really bigger than what a lot of people think, because a lot of felons are automatically disqualified from housing and job opportunities once they check that box.
Yeah, it's really enlightening to have you guys here and speak on behalf of what individuals deal with on a daily basis, and not only that, but really be willing to take the extra steps to help make a change. So I know that because you guys are young men, that you've got social media on fleek, right? So how can people figure out what you're doing and follow you and get involved with your cause?
Follow us on Facebook at Community Uprise UW-Milwaukee. And Facebook is our main resource right now, because it seems like more people in the population here are more invested in Facebook than Twitter.
And if you go to our Facebook page, please type Community Uprise UW-Milwaukee. If you don't have the dash, you might not find the page.
Okay, well, I thank you both so much for coming on, talking about your organization, all of the outstanding things that you're doing, and I wish you both the best in all of your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
A
you.
pleasure. Jafar Banda is the founder, and Alan Schultz is the co-chair of Community Uprise at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll switch our focus to a grassroots organization that's a network of faith-based organizations around the state that are working together to make Wisconsin a more compassionate and fair place for everyone to live when it comes to criminal justice reform and economic justice. We'll find out more about Wisdom when we return to Our Issues Milwaukee.